the authentic, Sigma path. Understanding yourself, finding your strengths, and thriving on your own terms. Chapter 1. Introduction Beyond the Labels. Do you ever feel like you're observing the world from a slight distance, even when you're right in the middle of it? Perhaps you find yourself analyzing social dynamics more than actively participating, preferring deep one-on-one conversations to boisterous group settings, or feeling most energized and clear-headed when you have ample time alone. Maybe you value your independence fiercely, resist being easily categorized, and find traditional hierarchies, or the pressure to conform quietly grating. If any of this resonates, you might have stumbled across descriptions of the Sigma personality archetype online and felt a flicker of recognition. You're not alone. In the vast, often confusing landscape of personality theories and online discourse, the terms alpha, beta, and more recently, sigma, have emerged as popular, albeit informal, ways to describe certain patterns of social behavior and interaction, particularly among men, though the traits themselves transcend gender. The alpha is often depicted as the assertive leader, the charismatic center of attention. The beta is portrayed as the supportive follower, agreeable and team-oriented. And then there's the sigma, often characterized as the lone wolf, the independent strategist, the quiet influencer who operates outside conventional social structures, possessing a unique blend of confidence and introspection. Perhaps you read a listicle and watched a video or saw a meme describing the Sigma and thought, that sounds a lot like me. It can be validating, even relieving, to find a label that seems to capture aspects of your experience that might have previously felt undefined or even isolating. Suddenly, tendencies like needing solitude to recharge, preferring autonomy in your work and life, or feeling uncomfortable with overt displays of status don't seem like personal quirks or failings, but part of a recognizable pattern. This book is for you. It's for anyone who identifies with the traits commonly associated with the Sigma archetype, whether strongly or just in part. However, let's be clear from the outset. This is not a book about rigidly defining yourself or others, nor is it about promoting one type as superior to another. The world of pop psychology and online personality typing can be a fascinating starting point for self-reflection, but it's also fraught with oversimplification, stereotypes, and sometimes, frankly, unhelpful or even toxic comparisons. Acknowledging the origins, pop psychology and the search for understanding. The concept of the Sigma male, as it's often termed, doesn't stem from rigorous, peer-reviewed psychological research in the same way concepts like the Big Five personality traits, openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, neuroticism, or the Myers-Briggs type indicator, MBTI, do, though even the MBTI has its own debates regarding scientific validity. Instead, the Sigma archetype largely emerged from internet forums, blogs, and social commentary. often within specific online communities. It gained traction as a way to describe individuals who didn't seem to fit neatly into the more established alpha-beta dichotomy, particularly those who displayed competence and influence without seeking the spotlight or adhering to traditional leadership roles. Because of these informal origins, definitions can vary, and the concept can sometimes be romanticized or misinterpreted. The lone wolf image, while appealing to some, can overlook the Sigma's capacity for deep connection or imply an unhealthy level of detachment. The idea of operating outside the hierarchy can sometimes be misconstrued as arrogance or a refusal to cooperate. It's crucial, therefore, to approach the Sigma concept with a discerning eye. Think of it less as a scientifically validated category and more as a useful shorthand, a collection of observable traits and tendencies that often cluster together in certain individuals. Its value lies not in its scientific precision, but in its potential to offer a mirror for self-reflection and a language for experiences that might otherwise be hard to articulate. If the description resonates, it provides a starting point, a doorway into deeper self-understanding. Moving beyond rigid archetypes, you are not a label. While labels like alpha, beta, and sigma can offer initial clarity, they become counterproductive when treated as rigid boxes. Human personality is infinitely more complex, nuanced, and dynamic than any simple typology can capture. You are not just a sigma, or an alpha, or an introvert, or an INTJ, or any other label. You are a unique individual with a rich tapestry of traits, experiences, strengths, and weaknesses that evolve over time. Think of these archetypes like primary colors. They might represent distinct hues, but human personality is the entire spectrum, full of countless shades, blends, and variations. Someone might exhibit strong sigma traits in their professional life, valuing autonomy and strategic thinking, but display more beta characteristics like collaboration and support within their close friendships. Someone else might have the quiet confidence of a sigma, but also possess the social charisma often associated with alphas in certain situations. Context matters, mood matters, life experiences shape us. The danger of clinging too tightly to these labels is twofold. It limits self-perception. If you define yourself solely as a sigma, you might overlook or suppress other parts of your personality that don't fit the mold. You might resist opportunities for growth or connection simply because they don't align with your perceived archetype. It fosters stereotyping. Applying these labels rigidly to others leads to judgment and misunderstanding. We might dismiss someone's potential based on a superficial assessment or create unnecessary divisions and hierarchies. Therefore, while we will use the term sigma throughout this book as a convenient way to refer to a specific constellation of traits, let it be a guidepost, not a cage. The focus will always be on the underlying traits and experiences, the independence, the introspection, the non-conformity, the observational skills rather than on the label itself. We'll explore what these traits look like in practice, how they manifest in different areas of life, and how they contribute to a unique way of being in the world. Purpose of this book: validation, self-discovery, and authentic improvement. So, if we're moving beyond rigid labels, what is the purpose of a book centered around the Sigma concept? Our goals are threefold: validation and understanding, to acknowledge and validate the experiences of those who resonate with Sigma traits, to explore the why behind these tendencies, why you might crave solitude, why you analyze situations deeply, why traditional paths might not appeal. Understanding the roots and manifestations of these traits can reduce feelings of confusion or alienation and foster self-acceptance. It's okay to be wired this way. Self-discovery, to provide a framework for deeper self-awareness. By examining the core characteristics, strengths, and potential pitfalls associated with the Sigma pattern, you can gain a clearer picture of your own unique makeup. Which traits resonate most strongly? Where do you see them playing out in your life? What are your inherent advantages, and where might you face challenges? This isn't about confirming a label, but about understanding yourself more profoundly. Authentic improvement. This is key. The goal is not to fix you or change your fundamental nature. It's not about trying to become more alpha or more beta, if that's not authentically you. Instead, it's about authentic growth. This means learning how to leverage your natural strengths more effectively, mitigate potential weaknesses associated with your traits, and navigate the world in a way that aligns with your core self while fostering better outcomes in relationships. It's about honing your edge, not sanding it down to fit a mold. It's about improving your communication skills so your unique perspective is understood, not mimicking someone else's style. It's about building connections that genuinely nourish you, not forcing yourself into social situations that drain you. It's about finding fulfillment on your own terms, setting the tone, acceptance, understanding, and empowerment. This book is intended as a supportive companion on your journey of self-discovery. The tone throughout will be one of acceptance. Your way of being is valid. The traits often associated with the Sigma archetype are not flaws to be corrected, but characteristics to be understood and worked with. Understanding. We aim to shed light on the inner workings and outward expressions of these traits, fostering empathy both for yourself and for how others might perceive you. Empowerment. Knowledge is power. By understanding your natural inclinations, strengths, and challenges, you become better equipped to make conscious choices, set appropriate boundaries, pursue fulfilling paths, and interact with the world more effectively and authentically. We will explore the nuances, celebrate the strengths, acknowledge the challenges, and offer practical strategies grounded in self-awareness and acceptance. This is not about conforming to society's expectations, but about learning to thrive within it as you are. The road ahead, our journey together. In the chapters that follow, we will embark on a structured exploration. Part 1. Understanding the Sigma Landscape. We'll delve deeper into the core traits that define the Sigma pattern, Chapter 2, and explore the unique inner world and processing style associated with it, Chapter 3. Part 2. Navigating the world as a Sigma. We'll examine how these traits play out in social interactions, Chapter 4. Identify the powerful strengths inherent in this pattern, Chapter 5, and honestly address the potential pitfalls and common misunderstandings, Chapter 6. Part 3. Authentic Growth and Fulfillment. We'll focus on building a foundation of radical self-awareness and acceptance, Chapter 7. Explore strategies for enhancing skills like communication and boundary setting authentically, Chapter 8. Discuss how to thrive in relationships and careers that align with your nature, Chapter 9. And finally, integrate these insights into a fulfilling life lived on your own terms, Chapter 10. This journey is about recognizing the value in your unique perspective, harnessing your innate strengths, and building a life that feels true, meaningful, and effective for you. Forget the pressure to fit in or lead the pack in conventional ways. It's time to understand your own path, walk it with confidence, and maybe, just maybe, discover that operating beyond the labels is where your true power lies. Let's begin. Chapter 2. The Core Traits. The Sigma Signature. In Chapter 1, we established the importance of looking beyond simplistic labels and focusing instead on the underlying traits and tendencies that resonate with our lived experiences. We acknowledged the Sigma archetype as a useful, if informal, shorthand for a particular constellation of characteristics often observed in individuals who navigate the world with a distinct blend of independence, introspection, and quiet influence. Now it's time to unpack that constellation, to examine the core traits that form the Sigma signature. As we explore these traits, remember that this is not a checklist to rigidly diagnose yourself or others. Human personality exists on a spectrum. You might resonate strongly with some of these traits, moderately with others, and perhaps not at all with one or two. You might find certain traits more prominent in specific areas of your life. Perhaps your professional independence is high, but you rely more on collaboration in your personal projects. The goal here is recognition and understanding, not classification. Think of these traits as recurring themes in the narrative of those who identify with the Sigma pattern, threads that weave together to create a unique tapestry of being. Let's delve into the characteristics that often define the Sigma experience. 1. Independence and self-sufficiency, charting your own course. At the heart of the Sigma pattern lies a profound sense of independence. This isn't merely about enjoying solitude, though that's related, as we'll see. It's a deeper drive for self-direction and self-reliance. Individuals strong in this trait prefer to make their own decisions, solve their own problems, and rely on their own resources whenever possible. What it looks like. This manifests in countless ways. It's the person who meticulously researches a complex purchase rather than just taking a salesperson's word. It's the colleague who prefers to tackle a challenging project component solo, diving deep into the intricacies before seeking input. It's the individual who learns new skills independently, fixing a leaky faucet via online tutorials, mastering a new software through experimentation, or teaching themselves a musical instrument. In larger life choices, it might mean pursuing an unconventional career path, choosing solo travel adventures, or structuring their finances to minimize reliance on others. Underlying drivers. This drive often stems from a combination of factors: a high value placed on competence, a desire for control over one's own destiny, a natural inclination towards problem solving, and perhaps a past experience where relying on others proved inefficient or disappointing. It's less about distrusting others and more about trusting oneself and valuing the freedom that self-sufficiency provides. Relatable scenario. Imagine a team meeting where a problem is presented. While some might immediately start brainstorming group solutions or looking to the designated leader, the person strong in Sigma independence might remain quiet initially, mentally dissecting the problem, considering various angles, perhaps already formulating potential solutions based on their own knowledge and analysis. They might only speak up when they have a well-thought-out perspective or a specific question, preferring internal processing over immediate external collaboration. Nuance. True independence isn't about refusing all help or connection. It's about preferring self-reliance and having the capability for it. Healthy independence recognizes when collaboration is strategic, or when seeking expertise is the most efficient path. The potential pitfall lies in becoming so self-reliant that asking for help feels like failure, leading to burnout or unnecessary struggle. 2. Introspection and analytical thinking. The inner architect. Sigmas often possess rich inner worlds, characterized by deep thought, reflection, and a tendency to analyze situations, ideas, and even their own thoughts and feelings. They are the observers who process information deeply, looking for patterns, underlying structures, and logical consistency. What it looks like. This is the person who replays conversations in their head, not necessarily out of anxiety, but to better understand the dynamics or extract meaning. They enjoy deconstructing complex problems, understanding how things work, whether it's a machine, a social system, or a philosophical concept. They might be drawn to strategy games, puzzles, or fields that require deep analysis. They often think before speaking, formulating their thoughts internally before expressing them. Underlying drivers. This can be driven by natural curiosity, a desire for clarity and understanding, a need to make sense of the world logically, and an ability to focus deeply. The internal landscape is often a comfortable, stimulating place to be. Relatable scenario. Consider attending a presentation or lecture. While others might focus on the speaker's delivery or the main takeaways, the introspective analyzer might be simultaneously evaluating the logic of the argument, connecting the ideas to other knowledge domains, identifying potential flaws or unstated assumptions, and considering the broader implications. Their engagement is often less about surface-level reception and more about deep cognitive processing, nuance. This analytical tendency is a powerful tool for problem-solving, strategic planning, and gaining deep insights. However, it can also lead to analysis paralysis, where overthinking prevents decision-making or action. It can sometimes make spontaneous, purely emotional engagement feel challenging as the mind defaults to observation and analysis. Learning to balance analysis with intuition and timely action is often part of the growth journey. 3. Quiet confidence versus arrogance. Substance over show. Often, individuals resonating with the Sigma pattern possess a distinct form of confidence, one that is internal, self-assured, and based on competence rather than external validation, or a need to dominate. This quiet confidence is frequently misunderstood. What it looks like, it's not about being the loudest person in the room or constantly asserting one's opinions. Instead, it manifests as a calm demeanor, a lack of neediness for approval, the ability to speak authoritatively when necessary, usually based on knowledge or direct experience, and a focus on results rather than self-promotion. They don't typically engage in boasting or one-upmanship. Their self-assurance comes from within, from knowing their capabilities and limitations. The crucial distinction. This is worlds away from arrogance. Arrogance stems from insecurity and requires external validation. It often involves putting others down to feel superior, exaggerating achievements, and demanding deference. Quiet confidence is grounded in self-awareness and competence. It doesn't need to diminish others to feel secure. It respects competence in others and is often comfortable admitting when they don't know something. Relatable scenario. In a discussion where opinions differ, the quietly confident individual might state their perspective clearly and logically, provide supporting evidence if available, and listen respectfully to counter-arguments. They don't feel the need to win the argument or force agreement. If their point is valid, they trust it will stand on its own merit. An arrogant person, in contrast, might become defensive, raise their voice, dismiss opposing views, or resort to personal attacks. Why the misunderstanding? Because quiet confidence doesn't rely on typical social dominance cues, loudness, constant talking, aggressive body language. It can sometimes be misinterpreted by those who equate confidence only with such displays. The Sigma's reserve, combined with their competence, might be perceived as aloofness, disinterest, or even a form of passive arrogance by those expecting more overt signals of engagement or deference. 4. Observational prowess, seeing the unseen. Related to introspection, but distinct, is a heightened ability to observe the environment, social dynamics, and nonverbal cues. Sigmas are often keen observers, picking up on subtleties that others might miss. What it looks like. This is the person who notices the slight hesitation in someone's voice, the fleeting expression that betrays their true feelings, or the underlying power dynamics in a group conversation. They might sense the mood of a room quickly or understand the unspoken rules of a new environment. They often read people and situations with surprising accuracy. Underlying drivers. This can stem from a natural inclination to gather information before acting, a preference for understanding the full context, and perhaps a lower need to be the center of attention, which frees up cognitive resources for observation rather than performance. It's a data-gathering mechanism that fuels their analytical thinking and strategic actions. Relatable scenario. Imagine walking into a party or networking event. While some might immediately dive into conversations, The observant Sigma might pause near the entrance, scanning the room, noting who is talking to whom, observing the general energy levels, identifying potential points of interest or key players before deciding how and where to engage. They are mapping the terrain before navigating it. Nuance. This skill is invaluable for navigating social situations effectively and making informed decisions. It allows for strategic interaction and a deeper understanding of human behavior. The potential downside is that constant observation can sometimes create a sense of detachment, making it feel like one is always on the outside looking in, analyzing rather than fully participating in the flow of the moment. 5. Non-conformity and resisting hierarchy, valuing logic over status. A hallmark of the Sigma pattern is a natural resistance to conforming, merely for the sake of fitting in, and a skepticism towards traditional, often arbitrary hierarchies. They value logic, competence, and authenticity over status, titles, or social pressure. What it looks like. This doesn't necessarily mean being rebellious or contrarian for its own sake. It's more about questioning the status quo, evaluating rules and expectations based on their merit rather than their source, and feeling uncomfortable with playing the game of social climbing or office politics. They might choose unconventional lifestyles, ignore fleeting trends, or speak up, often calmly and logically, when they see inefficiency or injustice, regardless of who it might offend. They respect authority based on competence and reason, not just position. Underlying drivers. This often stems from strong internal values, a reliance on their own judgment, fueled by analysis and observation, and a disinterest in external validation derived from group acceptance or hierarchical position. Independence plays a key role here. If you rely on yourself, you have less need to conform to gain favor or resources from a group or leader. Relatable scenario. In a workplace that emphasizes seniority or titles, the Sigma might be more inclined to listen to the well-reasoned argument of a junior colleague than the unsubstantiated opinion of a senior manager. They might question a long-standing procedure if they see a more logical or efficient way, even if it's always been done this way. They are less likely to be swayed by appeals to tradition or authority alone. Nuance. Principled non-conformity based on logic and values is a strength that can drive innovation and positive change. However, it can also lead to friction in highly structured environments or be perceived as being difficult or not a team player if not communicated effectively. It's important to differentiate this from reflexive contrarianism, which opposes ideas simply because they are popular or conventional. 6. Need for autonomy and solitude, recharging the system. Finally, a defining characteristic is the fundamental need for regular periods of solitude and a high degree of autonomy in their lives and work. This isn't necessarily introversion in the classic sense, though there's often overlap, but a specific need for space to process, recharge, and function optimally. What it looks like. This translates into fiercely guarding their alone time, feeling drained by excessive social interaction, even positive interaction, and thriving in environments where they have control over their schedule, tasks, and methods. They might prefer working remotely, having a private office, or engaging in hobbies that allow for solitary focus. Constant interruptions and micromanagement or forced group activities can be particularly taxing. Underlying drivers. For many with Sigma traits, Solitude isn't about loneliness. It's about cognitive and emotional regulation. The analytical and observational mind is constantly processing information, and solitude provides the necessary downtime to integrate experiences, think deeply without interruption, and restore energy reserves depleted by external stimuli. Autonomy feeds the need for independence and allows them to work in ways that align with their natural rhythms and processing styles. Relatable scenario. After a day full of meetings or a busy social event, the individual needing solitude might feel an urgent need to withdraw, not out of antisocial sentiment, but simply to decompress and regain equilibrium. They might turn down further invitations or seek out a quiet space, knowing that this is essential for their well-being and ability to function effectively the next day. Forcing themselves to stay engaged beyond their capacity leads to diminishing returns and potential irritability. Nuance. This need for solitude and autonomy can sometimes be misinterpreted as aloofness, disinterest, or rejection by those who don't share the same need. Communicating this need clearly and kindly, and finding ways to balance it with the demands of relationships and work is often a key life skill to develop. It's also important to distinguish this need from unhealthy isolation, which involves withdrawing from all connection, weaving the threads together. These 6 traits, independence, introspection, analysis, quiet confidence, observation, non-conformity, and need for autonomy, solitude, are not isolated islands. They influence and reinforce each other. Observational skills feed analytical thinking. Independence fuels the need for autonomy and makes non-conformity easier. Quiet confidence stems from self-reliant competence and deep introspection. Understanding these core traits is the first step towards harnessing their power. Recognizing them in yourself can bring clarity and self-acceptance. Seeing how they manifest both their strengths and potential challenges lays the groundwork for the authentic growth we discussed in Chapter 1. In the next chapter, we will delve deeper into the inner world shaped by these traits, exploring how individuals who resonate with the Sigma pattern often process life and emotions in a unique way. Chapter 3. The Inner World, Processing Life Differently. In the previous chapter, we sketched the outline of the Sigma signature by examining its core external traits: independence, quiet confidence, non-conformity, observational prowess, and the essential need for autonomy and solitude. These characteristics shape how individuals interact with the world around them. But to truly understand this pattern, we must venture beneath the surface into the often unseen, intricate territory of the inner world. What happens inside the mind that operates with such independence and analytical depth? How is life experienced and processed from this unique vantage point? If you resonate with the traits we've discussed, you will likely recognize that much of your life unfolds internally. You might possess what's often described as a rich inner life, a landscape of thoughts, ideas, analyses, and reflections that is constantly active, complex, and deeply engaging, sometimes even more compelling than the external world itself. This chapter delves into that internal experience, exploring how information and emotions are typically processed, why solitude is not just a preference, but a necessity, and how the very strengths of this inner world can sometimes lead to challenges like overthinking. The ever-active mind, a universe within. For many who align with Sigma traits, the mind is rarely quiet. It's less like a calm pond and more like a bustling laboratory, an intricate library, or a complex simulation constantly running. It isn't necessarily a stressful state, though it can be, as we'll discuss. Often it's simply the default mode of operation. Deep thinking is default. Casual, surface-level thinking might not come naturally. Instead, there's an inherent pull towards depth. Encountering a new piece of information often triggers a cascade of connections, analyses, and what-if scenarios. Reading a news article might lead to pondering the underlying systemic issues, historical context, and potential future consequences. A simple conversation can become data for understanding human motivation or social dynamics. This isn't always a conscious choice. It's often the automatic way the mind engages with stimuli, internal monologue and dialogue. There's often a significant amount of internal talk. This might be a running commentary on observations, a process of reasoning through problems step by step, playing out potential conversations or scenarios, or even debating different perspectives internally. It's a way of processing, structuring thoughts, and achieving clarity before, or instead of, external expression, world building, and scenario planning. The analytical and introspective mind often excels at extrapolation and simulation. This can manifest as detailed planning for future projects, mentally rehearsing challenging interactions, or even creating intricate internal worlds based on interests or imagination. It's a way of exploring possibilities and preparing for contingencies within the safety and control of one's own mind. The comfort of complexity. Simple answers are often unsatisfying. There's a natural gravitation towards complexity, nuance, and understanding the interconnectedness of things. This can lead to enjoyment of intricate systems, challenging intellectual pursuits, and deep dives into subjects of interest. The inner world thrives on substantial mental material to work with. This appear quiet or reserved externally. It's not necessarily due to shyness or lack of interest, but because a significant portion of their energy and attention is directed inward, engaged in this complex internal processing. Processing information, depth over speed, structure over chaos. How does this active inner world handle the constant influx of information from the outside? Typically, the processing style favors depth, accuracy, and integration over speed or breadth. Systematic integration. New information isn't just passively received, it's actively assessed, categorized, and integrated into existing mental frameworks. There's often a need to understand how a new piece of data fits with what's already known, whether it's consistent, and what its implications are. This can make the initial uptake of information seem slower compared to those who process more superficially, but it leads to a more robust and interconnected understanding. Imagine building with interlocking bricks rather than just stacking them. It takes more time initially, but the resulting structure is stronger. Pattern recognition, fueled by observational skills, Chapter 2. And analytical thinking, there's often a heightened ability to detect patterns, trends, and underlying principles that others might miss. Information is scanned for connections, inconsistencies, and recurring themes. This allows for insightful analysis and prediction, but requires mental energy and time for reflection. Filtering for relevance and logic. Not all information is treated equally. There's often an internal filter that prioritizes logical consistency, evidence, and relevance. Emotionally charged rhetoric, appeals to authority without substance, or unsubstantiated claims might be met with internal skepticism and a demand for deeper validation. The focus is on the signal within the noise. Need for clarity. Ambiguity can be uncomfortable. The mind strives for clarity and understanding. This can lead to asking probing questions, seeking out detailed explanations, and spending time defining terms or parameters before proceeding. While this pursuit of clarity is a strength, it can sometimes slow down processes that require quick, good-enough decisions. Processing emotions, deep currents beneath a calm surface. One of the most significant areas of misunderstanding surrounding the Sigma pattern involves emotions. The quiet demeanor, analytical focus, and need for solitude can lead observers to assume a lack of emotional depth or sensitivity. Often, the opposite is true. Emotions are felt deeply, but they are typically processed internally and often analytically. Internal processing. First, unlike individuals who might express emotions immediately and externally, through tears, laughter, raised voices, those with Sigma traits often experience an internal delay. The initial feeling registers, but it's immediately subjected to analysis. What is this feeling? Why am I feeling it? What triggered it? Is this reaction logical or proportionate? This internal dissection happens before or sometimes instead of external expression. Seeking understanding. The need for logical consistency extends to the emotional realm. There's often a drive to understand an emotion before fully accepting or expressing it. This can be confusing for others who expect immediate emotional reciprocity. It doesn't mean the feeling isn't there. It means the internal processor is working to make sense of it within the individual's framework. Difficulty articulating nuance. Because emotions are processed internally and analytically, translating those complex, nuanced inner states into simple verbal expressions can be challenging. It might feel like oversimplifying or misrepresenting the internal reality. This can lead to appearing reserved or even stoic, even when experiencing significant internal emotional turmoil or joy. They might know precisely how they feel internally, but struggle to find the right words to convey it accurately. Value placed on emotional control, internal locus. This isn't about suppressing emotions in an unhealthy way, but rather about maintaining internal equilibrium. The preference is often to manage emotional responses internally rather than being overwhelmed or dictated by them externally. This internal locus of emotional control contributes to the calm demeanor often observed, but it requires significant internal energy, empathy through observation and analysis. While spontaneous, effusive empathy might be less common, empathy often arises from deep observation and analysis of another person's situation and likely internal state. It's an understanding born from putting the pieces together rather than purely mirroring the other person's outward emotional display. It's crucial to recognize that this internal, analytical approach to emotions does not equate to being cold or unfeeling. The emotional currents run deep. They are simply navigated differently, often beneath a surface that prioritizes calm and logical coherence. The vital role of solitude, essential maintenance for the inner world. Given the constant hum of the inner world and the deep processing of information and emotion, the need for solitude becomes profoundly clear. It's not merely a preference for quiet. It's a fundamental requirement for well-being and optimal functioning. Cognitive recharge. The analytical brain consumes significant energy. Solitude provides the necessary downtime to stop processing external stimuli and allow the mind to rest, consolidate information, and regain focus. Without it, cognitive fatigue sets in, leading to reduced clarity, irritability, and diminished problem-solving ability. Emotional regulation. Processing emotions internally takes space and quiet. Solitude allows individuals to sit with their feelings, analyze them without external pressure or interruption, and regain emotional equilibrium. Trying to process complex emotions amidst constant social demands can be overwhelming and lead to shutdown or poorly managed reactions later. Maintaining clarity and perspective. The constant influx of external data and social interaction can cloud judgment and obscure one's own thoughts and feelings. Solitude provides the distance needed to filter the noise, reconnect with one's internal compass, reflect on experiences, and maintain a clear perspective. Fueling deep work and creativity. The focused, analytical mind thrives in uninterrupted stretches. Solitude creates the ideal environment for the deep work required for complex problem-solving, strategic thinking, creative pursuits, and skill development activities often highly valued by those with Sigma traits. Denying this need for solitude is like denying a car fuel or refusing to recharge a battery. Eventually, the system breaks down. Recognizing and honoring this need is paramount for sustainable well-being. The shadow side, overthinking and analysis. Paralysis. The very strengths of the introspective, analytical mind can become liabilities when taken to an extreme. The tendency to think deeply and consider all angles can morph into debilitating overthinking and analysis paralysis. Overthinking. This involves getting stuck in loops of analyzing past events. Why did I say that? Worrying excessively about future possibilities. What if this goes wrong? Or endlessly dissecting minor details. The mind's powerful analytical engine gets turned against itself, creating anxiety and preventing presence in the moment. Instead of processing towards clarity, it gets bogged down in rumination. Analysis paralysis. This occurs when the desire for complete information, the perfect plan, or the guaranteed optimal outcome prevents any action or decision from being taken. The mind explores endless possibilities and potential pitfalls, becoming so engrossed in the analysis that the window for effective action closes. The fear of making the wrong decision leads to making no decision. This can be particularly frustrating because the individual often knows logically what needs to be done but feels mentally stuck. These are not inevitable outcomes, but rather potential pitfalls inherent in this cognitive style. Recognizing the early signs, getting lost in hypothetical worries, delaying decisions unnecessarily, feeling mentally exhausted from circular thinking is the first step towards managing them, a topic we will explore further in Part 3. Understanding the unique perspective. Living with this kind of inner world shapes a unique perspective on life. The constant observation, analysis, and internal processing can lead to objectivity and detachment, an ability to step back from emotionally charged situations and analyze them more objectively. Strategic insight, seeing underlying patterns and long-term consequences that others might miss. A sense of differentness, feeling slightly out of sync with more externally focused or faster-paced social environments. Potential for misunderstanding, having one's quietness, need for solitude, or analytical approach misinterpreted by others. Embracing this perspective means recognizing both its power and its potential challenges. It's about understanding that processing life differently doesn't mean processing it incorrectly. Conclusion. Honoring your inner landscape. The inner world of someone resonating with Sigma traits is a complex, active, and deeply analytical place. Information is processed systematically, emotions are navigated internally, and solitude is essential for maintaining equilibrium. While this internal landscape fosters unique strengths like deep insight, strategic thinking, and quiet confidence, it also carries the potential for challenges like overthinking and analysis paralysis. Understanding this inner operating system is fundamental. It allows for self-acceptance, helps explain interactions with the external world, and provides the foundation for authentic growth. Knowing how you process life differently is the key to navigating it effectively. Armed with this self-awareness, we can now turn our attention in Part 2 to how these internal realities translate into navigating the social sphere, leveraging strengths, and addressing potential pitfalls in the world outside. Chapter 4. The Social Equation. Connecting on your terms. Having explored the rich and often complex inner world shaped by Sigma traits in Part 1, we now turn our attention outward. How does this internal landscape, characterized by independence, deep analysis, quiet confidence, keen observation, non-conformity, and a vital need for solitude, translate into navigating the intricate web of human social interaction? Part 2 of our journey focuses on effectively engaging with the world, as you are starting with the fundamental challenge of connection, the social equation. For many who resonate with the Sigma pattern, the social world can feel like a puzzle box, fascinating to observe and analyze, but sometimes tricky to engage with smoothly or conventionally. The buzzing energy of large groups might feel draining. Superficial interactions can seem pointless, and navigating implicit social hierarchies or office politics might feel like a game you have little interest in playing by the standard rules. This chapter is about understanding your unique approach to social connection and finding ways to navigate it authentically and effectively. It's not about becoming a social butterfly if that's not your nature, nor is it about forcing yourself into molds that don't fit. Instead, it's about recognizing your natural inclinations, understanding the potential friction points, and developing strategies to build meaningful connections and interact successfully on your own terms. Selective socialization, the power of quality over quantity. One of the most defining aspects of the Sigma social style is often a preference for selective socialization. This isn't about being antisocial. It's about being intentionally social. It stems directly from the traits and inner processing style we discussed earlier. Energy conservation. As explored in Chapter 3, the deep processing and analytical nature of the inner world consume significant cognitive energy. Constant or superficial social interaction can be incredibly draining, requiring the mind to process external stimuli while simultaneously managing internal analysis. Selective socialization is a natural energy management strategy, prioritizing interactions that offer genuine value or connection over those that merely fill time or meet societal expectations. Value placed on substance. The Sigma mind often craves depth and authenticity. Superficial conversations, gossip, or interactions focused purely on status signaling can feel unsatisfying or even irritating. There's a natural inclination to seek out interactions that involve meaningful discussion, shared interests, intellectual stimulation, or genuine emotional connection. Quality trumps quantity every time. Dislike a performance. Social situations often involve a degree of performative behavior, putting on a certain face, adhering to unspoken scripts. For those who value authenticity and resist conformity, Chapter 2, this can feel unnatural or exhausting. Selective socialization allows for choosing environments and company where one feels able to be more genuine. What it looks like. This translates into having a smaller circle of close, trusted friends rather than a vast network of casual acquaintances. It means carefully choosing which parties, events, or meetings to attend, weighing the potential value against the energy cost. It might involve preferring deep one-on-one conversations or small group interactions over large, unstructured gatherings, It's about consciously curating one's social exposure to maximize meaning and minimize drain. Relatable scenario, you receive invitations to 3 different social events on a Saturday night. A large, loud birthday bash for a casual acquaintance, a small dinner party with a few close friends known for interesting conversation, and a quiet evening at home. A selective socializer, recognizing their energy limits and preference for depth, will likely gravitate towards the dinner party or even opt for the quiet evening, understanding that the large bash, while potentially fun by some standards, would likely leave them feeling depleted and unfulfilled. Building deep, meaningful connections, the Sigma way. While the quantity of social connections might be lower, the quality sought is often profound. Individuals aligning with Sigma traits typically crave connections built on a foundation of mutual respect, intellectual compatibility, shared values, and authenticity. The process of building these connections, however, often differs from more conventional approaches. Observation precedes engagement. Remember the observational prowess from Chapter 2. This often comes into play heavily in forming connections. Before diving in, there's a tendency to observe potential friends or partners, gathering data on their behavior, values, and communication style. It's a form of vetting, seeking alignment before investing significant energy. Gradual trust building. Trust isn't usually given freely or quickly. It's earned over time through consistent behavior, demonstrated integrity, and mutual understanding. The independent and self-reliant nature means vulnerability is shown selectively, only when a solid foundation of trust has been established. Valuing intellectual kinship. Connections often spark around shared intellectual interests, deep conversations, or the ability to engage in analytical or abstract thinking together. A meeting of minds can be as crucial, if not more so, than shared activities or emotional effusiveness. Authenticity is non-negotiable. There's little patience for pretense. Connections thrive when both parties can be genuine, express their true thoughts, even dissenting ones respectfully, and don't feel the need to perform. The quiet confidence allows space for others to be authentic as well. Loyalty and depth. Once a connection is formed and trust is established, loyalty often runs deep. Because connections are made selectively and intentionally, they are typically valued highly and nurtured, albeit sometimes in quieter ways. For example, being reliably present in times of need rather than constant effusive contact. This approach means that forming deep bonds might take longer, and the circle might remain small, but the resulting relationships are often incredibly strong, resilient, and fulfilling. Navigating group dynamics and hierarchies. The observant outsider? Groups present a unique challenge. The interplay of multiple personalities, unspoken rules, and often present social hierarchies can feel like navigating a minefield for someone who prefers logic, autonomy, and directness. The peripheral observer. Often the initial position in a group setting is one of observation from the periphery. This allows for mapping the dynamics, understanding the power structures even while resisting them, and identifying key players or points of interest before engaging directly. It's a strategic position, not necessarily a passive one. Engaging selectively and purposefully. Engagement is typically driven by substance contributing a relevant point, asking a clarifying question, offering a logical solution. There's less interest in dominating the conversation, vying for attention, or engaging in purely social banter to maintain visibility. Focus on merit, not status. Consistent with the non-conformity trait, interactions within a group are often based on the merit of ideas or the competence of individuals, rather than their title or perceived social standing. This can be refreshing in some contexts, but can also cause friction in environments where hierarchy is strictly observed. Speaking truth to power, even calmly and logically, might not always be welcome. Unintentional disruption. By operating outside the typical rules of social maneuvering, by being direct, by valuing logic over politics, by not conforming to expectations, the Sigma can sometimes unintentionally disrupt established group dynamics. This isn't usually malicious, but simply a byproduct of their authentic mode of operation. Challenges. This approach can lead to being overlooked or underestimated in groups that value visibility and vocal participation. The quiet confidence might be mistaken for lack of interest or arrogance. Navigating overt power plays or political maneuvering can be exhausting and feel pointless, potentially leading to withdrawal from the group if the environment becomes too toxic or illogical. Communication styles. Directness, listening, and misunderstandings. Communication is the currency of connection, but the Sigma dialect can sometimes differ from the mainstream, leading to both strengths and potential misunderstandings. Preference for directness. Why beat around the bush? There's often a preference for clear, concise, and logical communication. Getting straight to the point is seen as efficient and honest. This doesn't necessarily mean being tactless, though that's a potential pitfall if self-awareness is low, but rather avoiding ambiguity, excessive politeness that obscures meaning, or emotionally manipulative language. The power of deep listening. The flip side of reserved speaking is often exceptional listening. Fueled by observation and analysis, the focus is often on truly understanding what the other person is saying, both verbally and non-verbally, rather than just waiting for a turn to talk. When others feel genuinely heard and understood on a deep level, it can forge powerful connections. Potential misunderstandings. This communication style can easily be misinterpreted. Directness as bluntness. In cultures or contexts that value indirectness or saving face, the Sigma's directness can come across as harsh, critical, or insensitive, even when no offense is intended. Analytical focus is coldness. Discussing emotional topics with a focus on analysis and understanding. Why do you feel that way? What triggered it? Rather than immediate emotional mirroring can be perceived as detached or uncaring by those expecting a more effusive response. Processing delay as disinterest. The internal processing time needed before responding, as discussed in Chapter 3, can be mistaken for a lack of engagement, disagreement, or even condescension. A lack of small talk as rudeness. Difficulty or disinterest in engaging in extended small talk can be seen as unfriendly or aloof in social settings where it's considered a necessary lubricant. Awareness of these potential disconnects is crucial for navigating interactions more smoothly, perhaps by occasionally adding softening language or briefly explaining one's communication style. The small talk conundrum and authentic networking. Small talk. For many who resonate with Sigma traits, this can feel like conversational, static, meaningless noise that drains energy and creates awkwardness. Networking events can feel similarly challenging, often perceived as arenas for superficiality and social climbing. How can one navigate these necessary evils authentically? Acknowledge the challenge. First, validate that it is often challenging. The preference for depth clashes directly with the superficial nature of most small talk. The energy drain is real. Accept this without self-criticism. Reframe the goal. Instead of seeing small talk as an end in itself, view it as a brief gateway to potentially finding a point of genuine connection. The goal isn't to master witty banter, but to efficiently sift for substance. Leverage observation and listening. Use your observational skills to find potential conversation starters related to the environment or shared context. Ask open-ended questions that invite more than a one-word answer. Then listen deeply to the response, looking for hooks into more meaningful territory. Prepare strategic questions. Have a few thoughtful, open-ended questions ready that go slightly beyond the typical "what do you do?" Questions about motivations, challenges, or interesting projects can often bypass superficiality. What's the most interesting challenge you're working on right now? What got you interested in this field? Focus on information exchange, networking. Reframe networking not as schmoozing, but as strategic information gathering or sharing. What specific knowledge are you seeking? What expertise can you offer? Focusing on concrete goals makes the interaction feel less arbitrary. Identify key people beforehand if possible. Quality interactions over quantity. It's better to have 1 or 2 meaningful conversations at an event than 10 superficial ones. Don't feel pressured to work the room. Master the graceful exit. Have polite exit lines ready. It was great talking with you. I need to catch someone else, grab a drink, etc. To escape conversations that are going nowhere or draining your energy. Knowing you can leave makes it easier to engage in the first place. Choose events wisely. Apply selective socialization principles. Attend events that genuinely align with your interests or goals, increasing the odds of finding compatible people. Conclusion: architecting your social world. Navigating the social equation as someone with Sigma traits is not about conforming to external expectations. It's about understanding your own operating system and architecting your social world accordingly. It involves embracing selective socialization, prioritizing depth and connections, navigating groups with observational awareness, communicating directly while honing listening skills, and finding authentic ways to handle typically challenging situations like small talk. It requires self-awareness to recognize your needs, like solitude and substance, and self-acceptance to honor them without apology. It also requires a degree of strategic effort, consciously choosing where to invest your social energy, and developing communication skills that bridge potential gaps in understanding. By connecting on your own terms, you conserve energy, foster relationships that truly nourish you, and engage with the world from a place of strength and authenticity. This foundation of effective navigation allows us to turn next to identifying and fully leveraging the inherent strengths that come with this unique way of being. Chapter 5. Unveiling Your Strengths. The Sigma Advantage. After exploring the intricacies of the Sigma inner world, Chapter 3, and the unique ways of navigating the social equation, Chapter 4, it's time to shift our focus squarely onto the significant advantages this pattern often confers. While the journey of self-understanding involves acknowledging challenges and potential friction points, it's equally crucial, perhaps even more so, to recognize, appreciate, and consciously leverage the inherent strengths that come with being wired this way. Too often, traits like independence, introspection, and non-conformity are viewed through a lens of difficulty or social awkwardness. Society tends to loudly celebrate more extroverted or conventionally ambitious qualities. But the Sigma signature, forged in observation, analysis, and self-reliance, comes with a powerful toolkit of its own. These aren't compensatory mechanisms. They are potent capabilities that, when understood and honed, provide a distinct advantage in various aspects of life. This chapter is dedicated to unveiling those strengths. We will dissect the Sigma advantage, examining how the core traits we discussed in Chapter 2 translate into formidable capabilities, Recognizing these strengths is not about ego, it's about empowerment. It's about understanding the assets you bring to the table and learning how to deploy them effectively for personal fulfillment and success, however you define it. 1. Strategic thinking and problem solving. Seeing the whole board. The combination of keen observational prowess, deep analytical thinking, and a degree of emotional detachment, or rather internal processing, creates a potent capacity for strategic thought and effective problem solving. How it develops. The tendency to observe before acting, Chapter 4. To analyze situations from multiple angles, Chapter 3. And to identify underlying patterns allows individuals with sigma traits to often see the bigger picture. They are less likely to be swayed by surface-level appearances or short-term emotional reactions. Their internal processing allows them to mentally simulate scenarios, anticipate obstacles, and identify optimal pathways forward that others caught up in the immediate fray might miss. The resistance to hierarchy, Chapter 2, also means they can assess situations based on merit and logic, rather than being unduly influenced by conventional wisdom or authority. Inaction. Business career. This translates into and logic, rather than being unduly influenced by conventional wisdom or authority. Inaction. Business career. This translates into an ability to develop long-term business strategies, identify untapped market niches, anticipate competitive moves, or design elegant solutions to complex operational problems. They might excel in roles requiring planning, analysis, research, or troubleshooting. Consider a project manager who, instead of just reacting to daily crises, spends time analyzing workflow data, identifies a recurring bottleneck invisible to others focused on immediate tasks, and proposes a systemic change that dramatically improves efficiency long-term. Personal life. It manifests in thoughtful life planning, making well-researched decisions about finances or major purchases, or navigating complex interpersonal dynamics by understanding the underlying motivations and potential outcomes of different approaches. Imagine someone facing a difficult family conflict. The strategic thinker might step back, analyze each person's perspective and underlying needs observed over time, and propose a solution that addresses the core issues rather than just the surface arguments. The advantage. This ability to think strategically allows for proactive planning, effective resource allocation, and the navigation of complexity with foresight and clarity. It's the difference between simply playing the game and understanding the rules, the players, and the potential endgame. 2. Resilience and adaptability. The self-reliant core. Independence and self-sufficiency, Chapter 2, coupled with an objective analytical lens, often foster remarkable resilience and adaptability. When your primary locus of control and validation is internal, external setbacks have less power to derail you. How it develops. Relying on one's own judgment and resources builds a strong inner core. Failures or unexpected changes are less likely to be perceived as personal catastrophes and more as data points, problems to be analyzed and solved. The non-conformist streak means less attachment to specific external structures or predefined paths. If one way is blocked, the mind naturally starts seeking alternative routes. Objectivity allows for a clearer assessment of the new reality and a more rational adjustment of plans. Inaction. Career setbacks. Losing a job, while difficult for anyone, might be processed differently. The resilient sigma might quickly shift from disappointment to analysis. What skills do I have? What opportunities exist? What did I learn from that experience? What's the most logical next step? They might use the opportunity to pivot towards a more autonomous or fulfilling path they'd already been contemplating. Unexpected life changes. Facing a health issue, a relationship ending, or a major move, the adaptable individual draws on inner resources. They research, plan, problem solve, and adjust their expectations based on the new reality, often surprising others with their capacity to cope and find a new equilibrium. Consider someone whose long-planned international trip is suddenly canceled due to unforeseen circumstances. While disappointed, their resourcefulness kicks in. They research alternative destinations, adjust budgets, perhaps even find a compelling local adventure, adapting the plan while preserving the goal of exploration or rest. The advantage. Resilience allows you to weather storms and bounce back from adversity, often stronger and wiser. Adaptability enables you to thrive in a constantly changing world, turning obstacles into opportunities and navigating uncertainty with competence. 3. Focus and deep work. Capabilities. Mastering the craft. In a world plagued by distraction, the ability to focus deeply is a superpower. The Sigma's comfort with solitude, introspective nature, and analytical drive often translate into an exceptional capacity for sustained concentration and deep work. How it develops. The need for solitude, Chapter 3, isn't just about recharging. It's often about creating the necessary conditions for focused thought. The internal world is already active and engaging, making external distractions less tempting or even irritating when deep in concentration. The analytical mind enjoys sinking its teeth into a complex problem or mastering a difficult skill, finding satisfaction in the process of deep engagement itself, in action. Skill mastery, learning a complex programming language, mastering a musical instrument, becoming an expert in a niche field, these often require hundreds or thousands of hours of focused practice and study, something the Sigma mind is often well suited for. High-quality output. Producing well-researched reports, writing intricate code, creating detailed artistic works, or developing sophisticated strategies all benefit immensely from uninterrupted periods of deep concentration. This ability to shut out the noise and focus allows for a level of quality and thoroughness that is hard to achieve with fragmented attention. Think of the writer who disappears for hours and emerges with several pages of thoughtful prose, or the engineer who meticulously works through a complex design, catching errors others missed. Problem solving. Cracking a particularly tough problem often requires holding multiple variables and complex relationships in mind simultaneously. Deep work enables this sustained mental effort, leading to breakthroughs that wouldn't occur with superficial attention. The advantage. In the knowledge economy, the ability to perform deep work is becoming increasingly rare and valuable. It allows for faster skill acquisition, higher quality output, and the solving of more complex problems, leading to greater competence and often greater career opportunities or personal satisfaction in one's craft. 4. Self-reliance and resourcefulness, making things happen. The core trait of independence naturally breeds self-reliance and resourcefulness. When your default isn't to immediately seek external help, you develop the habit and the skill of figuring things out for yourself. How it develops. Valuing autonomy motivates learning the skills needed to be autonomous. This might involve practical skills, basic repairs, cooking, navigating systems, or more complex ones, research, financial management, learning new technologies. The analytical mind is adept at breaking down problems and identifying potential resources, information, tools, alternative approaches. There's often a belief, grounded in experience, that a solution can be found if one looks hard enough. In action. Entrepreneurship. Many individuals with Sigma traits are drawn to entrepreneurship or freelance work precisely because it leverages self-reliance. They figure out how to build a website, manage marketing, handle finances, and deliver their service or product, learning as they go. Travel and exploration. Navigating unfamiliar cities or countries, dealing with language barriers, solving logistical problems on the fly, these situations highlight resourcefulness. The self-reliant traveler researches, adapts, uses available tools, maps, translation apps, observation, and finds ways to manage challenges independently. Everyday problem solving. From fixing a malfunctioning appliance using online guides to researching the best way to handle a bureaucratic process, resourcefulness means actively seeking solutions rather than passively waiting for help or giving up. The advantage? Self-reliance frees you from excessive dependence on others, increases your sense of agency, and equips you to handle a wider range of situations effectively. Resourcefulness means you're rarely truly stuck. You have the mindset and the skills to find a way forward. 5. Objectivity and calm under pressure. The steady hand, Ted. The tendency to process emotions internally and analyze situations logically often results in a remarkable ability to maintain objectivity and remain calm even in high-pressure situations. How it develops. When external events are filtered through an analytical lens before triggering an immediate emotional reaction, it creates a buffer. This allows for a more rational assessment of the situation, even when stakes are high or chaos erupts. The internal locus of control contributes to a sense of steadiness. Panic is less likely when you feel fundamentally grounded within yourself. Observational skills allow for accurate assessment of the situation without getting swept up in collective emotion. Inaction. Crisis management. In emergencies, a medical situation, a technical failure, a sudden organizational crisis, the person who can remain calm, think clearly, assess options logically, and give clear instructions is invaluable. Their objectivity cuts through the panic. Negotiation and conflict. Resolution. Approaching negotiations or disputes with objectivity, focusing on facts and underlying interests rather than emotional reactions, often leads to better outcomes. Calmness prevents escalating tensions and allows for more rational discussion. Consider mediating a heated argument. The calm, objective individual can listen to both sides without taking sides, identify common ground, and guide the parties towards a logical resolution. High-stakes decision-making. Making critical decisions under time pressure or with significant consequences requires a clear head. The ability to detach slightly, analyze the variables objectively, and choose a course based on reason rather than fear is a significant advantage. The advantage: calmness under pressure allows for clear thinking and effective action when it matters most. Objectivity leads to better decisions, fairer assessments, and more constructive interactions, particularly in challenging circumstances. The Sigma advantage: synergy in action. These strengths rarely operate in isolation. They often work together, creating a synergistic effect. Case scenario: imagine Alex, who resonates with Sigma traits, leading a small team on a critical project with a tight deadline. Challenge: a key technology partner unexpectedly pulls out, jeopardizing the entire timeline. Panic starts to ripple through the team. Sigma strengths in play: calm under pressure, objectivity. Alex acknowledges the seriousness but doesn't panic. They calmly assess the actual impact, separating emotional reactions from the logistical facts. Observation and analysis. Alex quickly analyzed the remaining resources, team capabilities, and project requirements. They observe the team's reactions, identifying who is overwhelmed and who might have relevant skills, strategic thinking/problem solving. Alex doesn't just focus on the immediate problem, but thinks several steps ahead. They brainstorm alternative solutions, finding a new partner, adjusting the project scope, reallocating internal resources. Self-reliance/resourcefulness. Alex dives into researching potential new partners or alternative technical solutions, leveraging their ability to learn quickly and find information independently. Focused deep work. Alex carves out time to concentrate deeply on replanning the project timeline and technical approach, producing a clear, revised plan. Quiet confidence, direct communication. Alex presents the revised plan to the team calmly and logically, explaining the rationale and assigning clear roles, restoring a sense of order and purpose without needing to be overly authoritarian. In this scenario, it's the combination of these strengths that allows Alex to navigate the crisis effectively, turning a potential disaster into a manageable challenge. Conclusion. Owning your advantage. The path of the Sigma is not always the easiest, but it is endowed with a unique and powerful set of strengths. Strategic thinking, resilience, deep focus, self-reliance, and calm objectivity are not just personality quirks. They are valuable assets in navigating an increasingly complex world. Recognizing these advantages within yourself is the first step. The next is to consciously cultivate and leverage them. Where can your strategic thinking make the biggest impact? How can you structure your life or work to maximize your capacity for deep work? When is your calm objectivity most needed? By understanding and owning the Sigma advantage, you move from simply coping with being different to actively thriving because of it. However, like any set of powerful tools, these strengths must be wielded with awareness. Even advantages have potential downsides or can be misapplied. In the next chapter, we will turn our attention to these potential pitfalls and misperceptions, ensuring a balanced understanding as we continue our journey towards authentic growth. Chapter 6. Potential Pitfalls and Misperceptions. In the previous chapter, we celebrated the distinct advantages conferred by the Sigma trait constellation, the strategic thinking, resilience, deep focus, self-reliance, and calm objectivity that form the Sigma advantage. Recognizing and owning these strengths is crucial for building confidence and leveraging your unique capabilities. However, a balanced self-awareness requires acknowledging that every set of traits, no matter how advantageous, carries potential downsides and can lead to misunderstandings in a world not always attuned to its nuances. This chapter delves into those potential pitfalls and common misperceptions. Our purpose here is not to criticize or pathologize these traits, but to foster deeper self-awareness. Understanding how your natural inclinations might be perceived by others, and recognizing where your strengths, if unchecked or misapplied, could become liabilities is essential for navigating relationships, careers, and life more effectively. It's about seeing the whole picture, the light and the shadow, not with judgment, but with clarity. This understanding is a prerequisite for the authentic growth we will explore in Part 3, allowing you to mitigate challenges without compromising your core self. Let's examine some common hurdles and ways Sigma traits can be misinterpreted. 1. The perception, aloof, detached, or intimidating. Perhaps one of the most frequent misperceptions faced by those resonating with Sigma traits is being seen as distant, emotionally unavailable, or even intimidating. Roots in Sigma traits. This perception often stems directly from characteristics we've discussed. Quietness, internal processing, H3. While you might be deeply engaged in internal analysis or observation, your external quietness can be read by others as disinterest, boredom, or standoffishness, especially in highly interactive settings. Observational focus, TH2. The tendency to observe people and dynamics intently, while valuable for understanding, can make others feel scrutinized or judged if your gaze is perceived as intense or analytical rather than warmly engaged. Need for solitude and autonomy, H2. Protecting your need for space, declining social invitations, or preferring to work alone can be interpreted as rejection or exclusivity, even if it's simply about energy management. Quiet confidence, GH2. As discussed, quiet confidence, lacking overt signals of warmth or deference expected by some, can sometimes be mistaken for arrogance or a lack of approachability. Your self-sufficiency might make others feel you don't need them, which can be intimidating. Examples. In a team meeting, while you're listening intently and analyzing the discussion, your lack of constant nodding, interjection, or expressive facial reactions might lead colleagues to assume you're not engaged or even disapprove. At a social gathering, standing back and observing before engaging might make you seem unapproachable or critical. Your concise, logical communication style, Chapter 4, might lack the effusive warmth others expect, contributing to a perception of detachment. Potential impact. This misperception can lead to missed opportunities for connection, collaboration, and advancement. People might hesitate to approach you with ideas, invitations, or requests for help. It can create unintentional distance in relationships if partners or friends interpret your need for space or internal processing as a lack of care or affection. Understanding the gap. It's crucial to recognize the gap between your internal state, often engaged, analytical, needing space, and the external perception, potentially aloof, disinterested, intimidating. The issue isn't usually malice on anyone's part, but a difference in communication styles and expectations. 2. The challenge. Difficulty with delegation or teamwork. The powerful combination of independence, self-reliance, and often high standards can sometimes translate into difficulty effectively delegating tasks or seamlessly integrating into collaborative team efforts. Roots in Sigma traits. Self-reliance, resourcefulness. H 2/5. The habit of figuring things out yourself and the confidence in your own ability to do so can lead to the default thought. It's faster / easier / better if I just do it myself. Analytical mind. High standards. You might have a very specific vision for how something should be done based on your analysis. It can feel inefficient or frustrating to explain this vision thoroughly or to accept work that doesn't meet your internal standards. Need for autonomy, H2. Collaborative processes often involve compromise, shared decision-making, and less individual control, which can feel counterintuitive or constraining to someone who thrives on autonomy. Examples. A team leader who resonates with Sigma traits might find themselves subtly taking back tasks they delegated because they weren't being done correctly or quickly enough, leading to their own burnout and the team feeling distrusted or micromanaged. In a group project, you might prefer to tackle the most complex part solo, potentially leaving others feeling sidelined or that their contributions aren't valued. You might hesitate to ask for help even when overloaded, seeing it as a sign of weakness or incompetence. Potential impact. This can lead to significant personal burnout as you take on too much. It limits the growth and development of team members who aren't given opportunities or trust. It can hinder the overall effectiveness of a team, which relies on leveraging diverse skills and shared workload. It can also foster resentment if others perceive you as unwilling to collaborate or trust their abilities. Understanding the nuance. Often, this isn't about an inability to work with others, but a preference for self-reliance or a habit born from competence that hasn't been consciously adjusted for collaborative contexts. It can also stem from past negative experiences with unreliable team members. The challenge lies in balancing personal capability with the strategic benefits of delegation and teamwork. 3. The risk: excessive isolation. The genuine need for solitude, so vital for recharging and deep thinking, carries within it the risk of tipping over into unhealthy isolation if not managed consciously. Roots in Sigma traits. Need for solitude. GH 2/3. Solitude feels restorative and necessary, making it easy to choose it frequently. Selective socialization. Arch 4. The preference for deep connection over superficial interaction can mean fewer overall social ties. Potential for misunderstanding. 4/6. Negative social experiences or feeling constantly misunderstood can make withdrawing feel safer and less effortful. Self-sufficiency. GH2. Believing you can handle everything yourself can reduce the perceived need for social support networks. Distinguishing healthy solitude from isolation. Healthy solitude is chosen, temporary, and restorative. It allows you to recharge in order to engage with the world more effectively later. Excessive isolation often feels less like a choice and more like a default state. It involves withdrawing from meaningful connection altogether, can lead to loneliness, even if unacknowledged, and hinders personal growth and well-being. Examples: consistently turning down invitations, even from close friends, without explanation or rescheduling. Spending entire weekends alone, not out of conscious choice for restoration, but because initiating contact feels too draining. Realizing you lack people to turn to for support during difficult times because you haven't maintained those connections. Getting caught in an echo chamber of your own thoughts without external perspectives. Potential impact. Chronic isolation is detrimental to mental and physical health. It limits exposure to diverse perspectives, hinders personal growth, reduces opportunities for joy and shared experience, and leaves you without crucial support systems when life inevitably throws curveballs. Understanding the slippery slope. Because solitude feels good and necessary, it requires self-awareness to notice when you might be crossing the line into counterproductive isolation. It's about finding the right balance for you: enough solitude to thrive, but enough connection to remain grounded, supported, and engaged with life. 4. The perception: overly critical or skeptical. The analytical mind, combined with a non-conformist tendency to question assumptions, can sometimes lead to being perceived as overly critical, negative, or skeptical, even when the intent is constructive. Roots in Sigma traits. Analytical thinking. 2/3. The default mode is often to deconstruct ideas, identify flaws, find logical inconsistencies, and anticipate problems. This is a strength in problem-solving, but can feel critical in brainstorming or feedback situations if not delivered carefully. Non-conformity, resisting hierarchy. GH2. You might question ideas based on their merit regardless of who proposed them or how popular they are. This can be perceived as challenging authority or being unnecessarily contrarian. Direct communication style. Keach 4. Getting straight to the perceived problem or flaw without sufficient softening language can make feedback sound harsh. Value for logic/evidence. Ideas presented without strong logical backing or evidence might be met with skepticism, which can feel dismissive to those operating more on intuition or enthusiasm. Examples. In a brainstorming session, immediately pointing out why an idea won't work instead of building on its potential. Giving feedback that focuses solely on areas for improvement without acknowledging strengths. Questioning a senior leader's proposal based purely on logical grounds without considering the political context, which might be perceived as naive or confrontational. Expressing skepticism about a popular trend or belief without validating the reasons others might find it appealing. Potential impact. This perception can stifle creativity in teams as people become hesitant to share ideas for fear of immediate critique. It can damage relationships if friends or partners feel constantly judged or criticized. It can lead to being labeled as negative or not a team player, hindering collaboration and career progression. Understanding intent versus impact. Often the intent behind the critique is positive to improve the idea, avoid potential problems, or ensure logical rigor. However, the impact can be discouraging or alienating if the delivery isn't mindful of the recipient's perspective and the context of the interaction. Navigating the terrain. Understanding without internalizing negativity. Awareness of these potential pitfalls and misperceptions is the first, most crucial step. The second is learning to navigate them without internalizing unwarranted negativity or feeling pressured to become someone you're not. This involves cultivating self-awareness. Pay attention to how others react to you in different situations. Notice patterns. When do interactions feel strained? When might your communication style be causing friction? Reflect on feedback, even if it feels uncomfortable initially. This isn't about blaming yourself, but about gathering data. Context is key. Recognize that different situations call for slightly different approaches. How you communicate in a critical design review might differ from how you offer feedback to a sensitive friend. This isn't about being inauthentic. It's about being skillful and adapting your communication strategy to the context and audience for better outcomes. Consider minor adjustments, skill building, not personality change. Sometimes, small tweaks can bridge perceptual gaps. This might mean consciously offering a brief verbal cue of engagement in meetings. That's an interesting point. I'm thinking about how it connects to X, prefacing critical feedback with an acknowledgement of effort or strengths. I appreciate the work you put into this, and I have a few thoughts on how we might refine section Y, or briefly explaining your need for space. I need some quiet time to process this effectively. These are communication skills, not changes to your core personality. Communicate your style needs proactively, sometimes. In ongoing relationships, work or personal, it can sometimes be helpful to gently explain your style. I tend to process things internally, so if I'm quiet, it doesn't mean I'm not engaged. Or, I value directness, so please know my feedback comes from a place of wanting to improve things, not criticize. This requires judgment about when and with whom it's appropriate. Separate perception from reality. Remind yourself that how others perceive you is based on their own filters, experiences, and expectations. While it's useful information, it's not the definitive truth about who you are or what your intentions are. Don't automatically internalize negative perceptions as accurate self-assessments. Analyze the feedback. Is there a kernel of truth you can learn from? Or is it primarily a reflection of the other person's bias? Focus on intent and impact. Maintain your positive intent. For example, logical rigor, efficiency, honesty. But become more aware of the potential impact of your words and actions. Ask yourself, how might this be received? Adjusting delivery to ensure your positive intent lands effectively is a sign of social intelligence, not inauthenticity. Conclusion. Awareness as the compass. Acknowledging potential pitfalls and misperceptions isn't about diminishing the strengths discussed in the previous chapter. It's about understanding the full spectrum of your trait constellation and how it interacts with the world. Being perceived as aloof, struggling with delegation, risking isolation, or appearing overly critical are not character flaws. They are often the shadow side of valuable strengths like independence, competence, necessary solitude, and analytical rigor. Awareness acts as your compass. It helps you navigate social and professional landscapes more effectively, anticipate potential friction, and make conscious choices about how you engage. It allows you to mitigate the downsides without sacrificing the authenticity and power of your unique way of being. With this balanced understanding of both strengths and potential challenges, we are now prepared to move into Part 3, focusing on practical strategies for authentic growth, self-acceptance, and honing your edge to thrive on your own terms. Chapter 7. The Foundation. Radical Self-Awareness and Acceptance. We've journeyed through the landscape of the Sigma archetype, exploring its core traits, Part 1, its inherent strengths, and the unique ways it navigates the external world, including potential pitfalls and misperceptions, Part 2. Now we arrive at the heart of authentic growth and fulfillment, Part 3. Where do we begin the process of leveraging our strengths more effectively and mitigating challenges without compromising our core selves? The answer lies not in immediately trying to change or fix ourselves, but in building a solid foundation. Just as a house needs strong footings before walls can be erected, authentic growth requires a bedrock of profound self-awareness and radical self-acceptance. This chapter is dedicated to laying that foundation. It's about turning the observant, analytical lens inward, not with harsh judgment, but with gentle curiosity and a willingness to see and accept what is. This isn't about complacency or resignation. Paradoxically, true change and growth often become more possible only when we stop fighting against our fundamental nature and instead work with it. Trying to build a life or develop skills based on a false or rejected sense of self is like building on sand, exhausting and ultimately unstable. By cultivating deep self-awareness and acceptance, we build on solid rock, creating the necessary stability and clarity for the skill enhancement and authentic thriving we'll explore in the chapters ahead. Recognizing your patterns, triggers, and needs without judgment. The first step is to become a keen, objective observer of your own internal and external landscape. Your analytical skills, often directed outward, can be powerfully applied inward. The goal is to identify recurring themes in your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, understand what sets them off, and recognize the underlying needs driving them. The crucial element here is to suspend judgment. Identifying patterns. What are your habitual responses in certain situations? Behavioral patterns. Do you consistently withdraw after intense social interaction? Do you tend to take charge of complex problems solo, even in a team? Do you find yourself resisting direction or questioning rules frequently? Do you delay making decisions until you have exhaustive information? Notice these recurring actions without immediately labeling them good or bad. Simply observe. When X happens, I tend to do Y. Thought patterns. Does your mind often jump to analyzing potential problems? Do you frequently replay conversations? Do you have a strong internal monologue critiquing yourself or others? Do you often think in terms of systems, logic, and efficiency? Again, just note the patterns. My mind often goes to type of thought in situation. Emotional patterns. What feelings typically arise in response to certain events? Do you feel drained after prolonged interaction? irritated by inefficiency, energized by deep conversation or focused work, calm during crises. Note the emotional signature of different experiences. Tools for observation. Journaling can be invaluable here. Briefly note situations, your responses, thoughts, feelings, actions, and any perceived triggers. Regular reflection time, even just 5-10 minutes a day, can help patterns emerge from the daily noise. Understanding triggers. What specific events, interactions, or internal states reliably set off certain patterns? External triggers. Being micromanaged, facing illogical arguments, being interrupted frequently, large noisy crowds, pressure to conform, vague instructions, perceived incompetence in others. Internal triggers. Feeling misunderstood, fearing failure, feeling overwhelmed or drained, boredom, a sense of injustice, a perceived violation of autonomy. Recognizing your triggers allows you to anticipate challenging situations and potentially choose different responses rather than reacting automatically. When I feel internal state or encounter external situation, I notice the urge to pattern. Uncovering core needs. Beneath many patterns and reactions lie fundamental, often unmet needs. Sigma traits often point towards a strong need for autonomy, the need for control over your own choices, actions, and environment. Resistance might be triggered when autonomy feels threatened. Competence, the need to feel capable, effective, and knowledgeable in areas that matter to you. Difficulty delegating might stem from a need to ensure competence. Solitude space. The physiological and psychological need for downtime to process and recharge. Withdrawal is often a direct response to this need being unmet. Meaning purpose. The need for work and activities to align with internal values and feel significant. Disinterest might arise when tasks feel pointless. Logical consistency, clarity. The need for things to make sense and be understood clearly. Frustration can arise from ambiguity or irrationality. Authenticity. The need to act in alignment with your true self and values. Discomfort arises from feeling pressured to perform or conform. Deep connection. Selectively. The need for meaningful, substantive relationships, even if fewer in number. Superficial interaction fails to meet this need. Identifying your core needs helps you understand why you react certain ways. Often, challenging behaviors are misguided attempts to meet legitimate needs. My tendency to pattern might be driven by my need for core need. The power of non-judgment. Throughout this process, practice observing with curiosity. Imagine you're a naturalist studying a fascinating creature yourself. Avoid labels like, I shouldn't feel this way, or this behavior is bad. Judgment clouds observation and hinders acceptance. Simply gather the data. This is what happens. This is what I feel. This seems to be the trigger. This might be the underlying need. This neutral stance creates the psychological safety needed for honest self-assessment. Accepting your natural inclinations. Working with your wiring. Awareness is the first step. Acceptance is the second. This means acknowledging your fundamental traits and needs the need for solitude, the analytical thinking style, the preference for independence, the observational focus as integral parts of your wiring, not as flaws needing correction. What acceptance looks like. Scheduling regular alone time without guilt, recognizing it as essential maintenance. Choosing work environments or roles that offer a high degree of autonomy, rather than constantly fighting against restrictive structures. Allowing yourself time to process information deeply before responding, instead of criticizing yourself for not being faster. Accepting that you may have a smaller circle of close friends and valuing the depth of those connections. Recognizing your direct communication style and accepting it while also learning skills to deliver it effectively. Chapter 8. Giving yourself permission to observe in group settings before jumping in. Acceptance versus resignation. Acceptance is not passive resignation or giving up on growth. Resignation says, this is just how I am. I can't do anything about it. Acceptance says, this is my natural starting point, my inherent wiring. Now, how can I work with this effectively? How can I manage its challenges and leverage its strengths? Acceptance empowers you to make conscious choices from your authentic nature rather than fighting against it. The relief of acceptance. Fighting against your core nature is exhausting. Trying to be someone you're not constantly forcing extroversion when you need solitude. Suppressing analytical thought to seem more agreeable. Denying your need for autonomy leads to burnout and low self-esteem. Acceptance brings a sense of relief and frees up enormous amounts of energy that can then be directed towards authentic growth and pursuing goals that genuinely align with who you are. Differentiating authentic traits from unhealthy coping mechanisms. This is a vital layer of self-awareness. While we accept our core traits, we must also honestly assess whether our behaviors are healthy expressions of those traits or if they've become distorted into unhealthy coping mechanisms, often developed in response to stress, fear, invalidation, or past negative experiences. The spectrum. Think of it as a spectrum. Authentic trait, healthy expression. Strategic solitude for recharging. Constructive analysis leading to insight. Principled non-conformity based on values. Quiet confidence based on competence. Healthy independence with interdependence. Unhealthy coping mechanism, distorted expression. Complete isolation driven by fear or overwhelm. Cynical negativity or destructive criticism. Reflexive defiance or oppositional behavior just to resist. Arrogance or aloofness masking insecurity. Hyper-independence refusing all support even when needed. Analysis paralysis driven by fear of failure. Contrasting examples. Solitude. Recharging alone after a busy week to feel refreshed. Authentic versus. Avoiding all social contact for weeks because interactions feel too difficult or scary. Coping mechanism. Analysis carefully considering pros and cons to make an informed decision. Authentic versus. Spending months researching a minor purchase due to fear of making the wrong choice. Coping mechanism analysis paralysis. Non-conformity. Questioning an inefficient process based on logical reasoning. Authentic versus. Arguing against every suggestion, simply because it came from an authority figure. Coping mechanism reflexive defiance. Independence. Capably managing your responsibilities. Authentic versus. Refusing a colleague's genuine offer of help on a stressful project due to pride or distrust. Coping mechanism hyperindependence. Checking your motivation. A key differentiator is often the underlying motivation and emotional state. Authentic traits usually feel grounded, calm, and aligned with your values, even if they challenge external norms. Coping mechanisms often feel driven by fear, anxiety, anger, resentment, or a sense of overwhelm. They might provide temporary relief, but ultimately hinder growth and connection. Ask yourself, is this behavior coming from a place of strength and authenticity, or from a place of fear, avoidance, or defensiveness? Does it ultimately serve my well-being and goals, or does it sabotage them? Honest differentiation allows you to accept your core traits while simultaneously recognizing where you might need to develop healthier strategies for managing stress or interacting with the world, the focus of Chapter 8. The power of self-compassion, fueling the journey. This entire process of self-awareness, acceptance, and differentiation can be challenging. It requires looking honestly at ourselves including the parts we might not like or the ways we feel misunderstood. This is where self-compassion becomes not just helpful, but essential. Harsh self-criticism rarely motivates lasting positive change. It often leads to shame, defensiveness, or resignation. Self-compassion provides the emotional resilience needed to engage in this work constructively. Drawing on Dr. Kristin Neff's framework, self-kindness versus self-judgment. Treat yourself with the same kindness, care, and understanding you would offer a good friend facing similar challenges. When you notice a difficult pattern or realize you've fallen into a coping mechanism, respond with gentle encouragement rather than harsh criticism. Acknowledge the difficulty. This is hard right now. It makes sense I reacted that way given the stress I was under. Common humanity versus isolation. Recognize that struggles, imperfections, and feeling different are part of the shared human experience. You are not alone in facing challenges or having traits that don't always fit societal molds. This counters the Sigma tendency towards isolation and the feeling that no one else is like this. Remind yourself, many people struggle with social anxiety /overthinking /finding their place. It's human to make mistakes or fall into old habits. Mindfulness versus over-identification. Observe your thoughts and feelings without getting swept away by them. Acknowledge pain or difficulty without exaggerating it or letting it define your entire sense of self. For the analytical mind prone to rumination, this means noticing thoughts like, I always mess this up, as thoughts rather than objective truths, and observing feelings of frustration or disappointment without letting them completely take over. Self-compassion creates a supportive internal environment where you can acknowledge weaknesses without feeling devastated, learn from mistakes without being paralyzed by shame, and find the motivation to develop new skills from a place of self-care, not self-loathing. Conclusion. Building on solid ground. Radical self-awareness and acceptance, coupled with the ability to differentiate authentic traits from unhealthy coping mechanisms and nurtured by self-compassion, form the non-negotiable foundation for authentic growth. It's about truly seeing and accepting the raw materials you're working with, your unique wiring, your needs, your patterns, your strengths, your challenges. This foundation doesn't mean staying stuck. It means knowing precisely where you stand so you can choose your next steps wisely. It provides the stability and clarity needed to move forward effectively. With this bedrock in place, we are ready to explore the practical skills and strategies in the next chapter, honing your edge authentically by developing communication techniques, building strategic connections, setting boundaries, and managing analytical tendencies, all while staying true to the core self you have come to understand and accept. Chapter 8. Skill Enhancement Honing Your Edge Authentically. Having laid the crucial foundation of self-awareness and acceptance in the previous chapter, we now move into the practical application, enhancing your skills to navigate the world more effectively while remaining firmly rooted in your authentic self. This is where the growth aspect of our journey takes center stage. But let's be absolutely clear about what kind of growth we mean. This chapter is not about fundamentally changing your personality. It's not about forcing yourself to become more outgoing, less analytical, or more conformist if those aren't your natural inclinations. Such attempts are usually exhausting and unsustainable, as they work against your core wiring. Chapter 7. Instead, this chapter is about skill enhancement, developing specific techniques and strategies that allow you to leverage your inherent Sigma strengths more powerfully and mitigate the potential pitfalls we discussed, Chapter 6, more gracefully. It's about honing your existing edge, not trying to become a different tool altogether. Think of it like a master craftsperson, sharpening their favorite, well-understood tools. They don't try to turn a chisel into a hammer. They learn the best techniques to make the chisel more precise, effective, and versatile for its intended purpose. Similarly, the skills we'll explore here are designed to help you interact, collaborate, decide, and protect your energy more effectively as the independent, analytical, observant individual you are. 1. Developing clearer communication. Strategies, bridging the gap. As we saw in chapters 4 and 6, the Sigma communication style, often direct, logical, and internally processed, can sometimes lead to misunderstandings. The goal here isn't to adopt a completely different style, but to add layers of skill that ensure your valuable perspective is heard and understood, and that you connect more smoothly with different communication styles. The goal: to express your thoughts, needs, and analyses clearly and effectively, minimizing misinterpretations like being seen as blunt, aloof, or critical, while maintaining honesty and directness. Strategies. Contextual framing. Briefly preface your statements to provide context for your style or thought process. This helps others interpret your words more accurately. Examples. My mind tends to analyze potential issues first, so with that lens, before offering critique. To be direct and save time, before stating a concise point. I need a moment to process that fully before responding, explaining a pause. From a purely logical standpoint, framing an analytical observation. Using I statements. Frame observations, feelings, and opinions from your own perspective. Goals and provide necessary support. The key is to collaborate authentically, leveraging your independence within carefully chosen. The lone wolf stereotype, often associated with Sigmas, can be limiting. While self-reliance is a strength, strategic collaboration can amplify impact, accelerate goals, and provide necessary support. The key is to collaborate authentically, leveraging your independence within carefully chosen partnerships, rather than sacrificing it unnecessarily. The goal: to effectively work with others on shared goals, leveraging complementary skills and resources without feeling stifled or losing essential autonomy. Strategies: identify complementary skills. Strategic need: use your analytical skills to assess situations where collaboration offers a distinct advantage. Where do others possess expertise you lack? Where would shared effort significantly outweigh solo effort? Be strategic. Collaborate when it makes sense for the goal. Define clear roles, expectations, and autonomy zones. Before embarking on collaboration, invest time in clearly defining who is responsible for what the shared goals are, how decisions will be made, and importantly, where each party retains autonomy. This structure minimizes friction and protects your need for self-direction within the partnership. Your logical approach is an asset here. Articulate your value proposition. Understand and clearly communicate the unique strengths you bring to the table. For example, strategic analysis, problem-solving, deep focus, objectivity. This establishes mutual respect and clarifies your role. Apply selective socialization to partnerships. Choose collaborators wisely. Look for competence, reliability, shared values like honesty or quality, and mutual respect for boundaries and working styles. Don't feel obligated to collaborate with everyone. Quality over quantity applies here too. Communicate boundaries within collaboration. Clearly state your working style preferences or needs early on. For example, I work best with focused blocks of time. I prefer clear agendas for meetings. I need time to analyze data before committing to a direction. This preempts misunderstandings. See Skill 3 below. 3. Effective boundary setting, protecting energy and autonomy. Your need for solitude, focus, and autonomy isn't a luxury. It's essential for your well-being and effectiveness. Chapter 7. Setting clear boundaries is the skill that protects these vital resources. This isn't about building walls, but about managing your energy and commitments realistically. The goal: to protect your time, energy, focus, and autonomy in a way that is clear, consistent, and respectful, both to yourself and others, minimizing burnout and resentment. Strategies: know your limits. Self-awareness. Based on your self-awareness, Chapter 7, identify your genuine capacity for social interaction, focused work, and taking on commitments. How much solitude do you need daily or weekly? When are your peak focus times? What types of interactions drain you most quickly? Be honest with yourself. Communicate boundaries. Clearly, kindly, and directly. Avoid ambiguity. State your limit or need simply and respectfully. You often don't need lengthy justifications. Examples: thank you for the invitation, but I won't be able to make it. No elaborate excuse needed. I need to keep my mornings free for focused project work. I can discuss this for 15 minutes, but then I need to get back to X. I'm not available to take on new commitments right now. I need some quiet time to recharge this evening. The power of the simple practice saying no without excessive guilt or explanation when something doesn't align with your priorities or exceeds your capacity. Remember, saying no to one thing allows you to say yes to things that matter more, including your own well-being. Offer alternatives when appropriate and genuine. If you wish to soften a boundary or maintain connection, offer a realistic alternative that still respects your limit. Examples: I can't make the party Saturday, but could we grab coffee next week? I don't have the bandwidth to lead that project, but I could offer input on the planning stage. I can't meet today, but I'm free tomorrow afternoon. Be consistent. Boundaries are tested. People might push back, forget, or try to negotiate. Gently and consistently restate your boundary as needed. This teaches others how to interact with you respectfully. Give yourself permission. Remind yourself, using self-compassion, from H7, that setting boundaries is healthy and necessary. It's not selfish. It's responsible self-management. Your needs are valid. 4. Managing analytical tendencies. From paralysis to powerful decisions. Your analytical mind is a significant strength, Chapter 5. But as we saw, Chapters 3-6, it can sometimes lead to overthinking and analysis paralysis, hindering progress. The goal is to harness this power effectively for decision-making and action, not get trapped by it. The goal: to use your analytical skills efficiently to make timely, well-reasoned decisions and take action, without getting bogged down in excessive deliberation or fear of imperfection. Strategies: time boxing. Analysis: allocate a specific, reasonable time frame for gathering information and analyzing options. When the time is up, make the best decision you can with the available data. Parkinson's law applies. Work expands to fill the time allotted. Constrain the time. Define good enough. Satisficing. Recognize that the perfect solution or complete certainty is often an illusion. Aim for a good enough, effective, workable solution that meets the core requirements. Ask, what is the minimum viable decision or action here? Apply the 80/20th principle. Focus on the 20% of analysis that yields 80% of the insight. Identify key decision criteria. Before diving into analysis, clearly define the three most critical factors that the decision hinges on. Focus your analysis there, rather than getting lost exploring every conceivable minor variable. Bias towards action. Small steps. If analysis paralysis strikes, especially on large projects, break it down. What is the smallest possible step you can take right now to move forward or gather more real-world data, which is often more valuable than further theoretical analysis? Taking action, even imperfectly, can break the loop and build momentum. Selective trusted input. If you're truly stuck in an analysis loop, seek a perspective from one or two trusted individuals whose judgment you respect and who understand your thinking style. Explain your analysis briefly and ask for their take. Sometimes an outside view can cut through the complexity. Choose people known for practicality or decisiveness. Mindfulness of rumination. Practice noticing when your thoughts shift from productive analysis into unproductive worry loops or rehashing. Chapter 7. Gently acknowledge the thoughts, there's that worry loop again, and redirect your focus to the present task or planned next step. Conclusion. Honing your authentic toolkit. Developing clearer communication, building strategic alliances, setting effective boundaries, and managing analytical tendencies are not about fundamentally altering your Sigma nature. They are about adding sophisticated skills to your authentic toolkit. These skills allow you to interact with the world more smoothly, protect your vital resources, collaborate effectively when advantageous, and translate your powerful analytical abilities into decisive action. Like any skills, these require conscious practice, patience, and self-compassion. You won't get them perfect overnight. There will be times you revert to old habits or misjudge a situation. That's okay. The key is the ongoing commitment to awareness, Chapter 7, and the willingness to refine your approach, Chapter 8. By honing your edge authentically, you equip yourself not just to navigate the world, but to actively shape your life in ways that align with your values and allow your unique strengths to shine. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to apply this enhanced awareness and skill set specifically within the crucial life areas of relationships and career. Chapter 9. Thriving in key life areas, relationships, and career. We've journeyed inward to understand the core traits and inner world of the Sigma pattern. Part 1. Explored how to navigate the external world by leveraging strengths and mitigating pitfalls. Part 2. And laid the foundation for authentic growth through self-awareness, acceptance, and skill enhancement. Chapters 7-8. Now, it's time to bring all these threads together and apply them to two of the most significant arenas of life: our relationships and our careers. Thriving in these areas doesn't mean conforming to conventional expectations of what a good partner, friend, family member, employee, or leader looks like. For someone resonating with Sigma traits, fulfillment comes from finding ways to engage, connect, contribute, and succeed in alignment with their authentic nature. It's about architecting relationships and career paths that honor your need for autonomy, depth, and meaning, while utilizing the skills you've honed to navigate inevitable complexities. This chapter explores how to apply your understanding and skills to build strong, authentic connections with others and find work that is both satisfying and leverages your unique advantages. It's about moving beyond just navigating or coping towards genuinely thriving on your own terms. Section 1. Thriving in relationships. Romantic, friendship, family. Relationships can sometimes feel challenging for those with Sigma traits, given the need for solitude, the analytical approach to emotions, and the potential for communication misunderstandings. However, these same traits, combined with the skills developed in Chapter 8, can also contribute to uniquely deep, stable, and meaningful connections when understood and applied positively. Applying Sigma traits positively in relationships: independence, autonomy. In healthy relationships, this translates into mutual respect for individuality and personal space. You're less likely to fall into unhealthy codependency and can encourage autonomy in your partner, friends, or family members. You bring a sense of self-sufficiency that can be grounding, provided it doesn't morph into emotional unavailability. Introspection. Analysis. Your ability to think deeply can lead to thoughtful insights into relationship dynamics and a genuine understanding of your loved one's perspectives when analysis is focused constructively. You might be the person and friends turn to for objective advice or a calm perspective on a complex issue. Caution. Avoid overanalyzing your partner's every word or motive. Balance analysis with trust and emotional presence. Quiet confidence. This provides a stable, non-needy presence in relationships. You likely don't require constant external validation, which can create a secure base for others. Your calmness under pressure, Chapter 5, can be incredibly reassuring during shared challenges. Observation, deep listening. Your natural observational skills, honed into active listening, Chapter 8, allow you to truly hear and see your loved ones, understanding their unspoken needs, noticing subtle shifts in mood, and remembering important details. Feeling deeply understood is a powerful connector. Loyalty depth. Because you likely form connections selectively and intentionally, Chapter 4. Your loyalty, once given, often runs deep. You may express commitment through consistent action and reliability rather than effusive declarations, offering steadfast support. Leveraging enhanced skills, from Chapter 8. Clear communication is crucial. Expressing needs, especially for solitude. Use clear I statements and boundary-setting skills to communicate your need for alone time kindly and directly, reassuring loved ones it's not rejection. I'm feeling drained and need some quiet time this evening to recharge so I can be more present tomorrow. Translating internal states. Practice articulating your feelings, even if analytically processed. Chapter 3. When X happened, I felt emotion because my analysis was Y. Or, I'm processing this internally right now. Can we talk about it later when I have more clarity? This bridges the gap caused by internal processing delays. Active listening confirmation. Use paraphrasing, so it sounds like you're feeling, to ensure you're understanding correctly and to show your loved ones they are heard, countering any perception of detachment. Effective boundary setting. Maintain healthy boundaries to protect your energy and the relationship. This prevents resentment building from constant overwhelm. Clearly communicate your capacity for social events, family obligations, or emotional support, offering alternatives when needed. I can join for dinner, but I'll need to leave by 9 p.m. to get enough rest. Managing analytical tendencies. Consciously shift from analysis to presence during connection moments. Put away the mental scorecard. Practice simply being with loved ones without dissecting the interaction. Use mindfulness techniques, Chapter 8, to notice when you're overthinking relationship dynamics and gently redirect your focus to the person in front of you. Navigating common relationship challenges. Authentically. Need for space versus. Partners' need for connection requires open communication, compromise, and reassurance. Understand your partner's needs and clearly articulate yours. Find rhythms that honor both. For example, designated together time and protected alone time. Different communication. Styles. Acknowledge differences explicitly. Explain your preference for directness or need for processing time. Ask your partner about their preferences. Use contextual framing, speaking analytically for a moment. Expressing affection. Find authentic ways to show you care that align with your nature. If grand romantic gestures or constant verbal affirmations feel unnatural, focus on consistent acts of service, thoughtful problem solving, deep listening, unwavering loyalty, or quality time spent in shared meaningful activities. Authenticity matters more than conforming to stereotypes. Building thriving relationships involves understanding your own needs and patterns, communicating them effectively, respecting the needs and patterns of others, and applying your unique strengths like loyalty, insight, and stability in ways that nurture connection. Section 2. Thriving in Career. The modern workplace, with its emphasis on teamwork, communication, and sometimes office politics, can seem daunting for those with Sigma traits. However, by choosing the right environments and roles, leveraging inherent strengths, and applying honed skills, you can build a deeply fulfilling and successful career. Finding fulfilling career paths and work environments. The key is alignment between the work/environment and your core needs. Prioritize autonomy. Look for roles with significant control over your tasks, schedule, and methods. Freelancing, consulting, independent contracting, entrepreneurship, or roles within organizations that value autonomy. For example, results-only work environments, project-based structures, are often good fits. Avoid heavily micromanaged positions or rigid, bureaucratic structures. Seek meaningful, complex work. Your analytical mind thrives on challenges and understanding systems. Look for work that involves problem-solving, strategy, research, deep technical expertise, or contributing to a cause you value. Roles that are purely repetitive or lack intellectual stimulation can lead to boredom and disengagement. Minimize politics, bureaucracy. While no workplace is entirely free of politics, some cultures are far healthier than others. Research company culture. Look for environments that value competence, transparency, and logical decision-making over schmoozing or hierarchical maneuvering. Smaller companies or specialized departments can sometimes offer this. Enable deep work. Seek environments that respect the need for focused concentration. This might mean roles allowing remote work, private offices if possible, or cultures that minimize unnecessary meetings and interruptions. Competence-based recognition. Gravitate towards fields or organizations where results and expertise are the primary drivers of advancement, rather than social connections or self-promotion skills alone. Sigma leadership. Styles, influence through competence. If you find yourself in a leadership position, or aspire to one, you don't need to mimic traditional alpha styles. You can lead effectively and authentically by leveraging your Sigma strengths, leading from behind expertise-based influence. Your influence often comes from your competence, strategic insights, and well-reasoned arguments, rather than charisma or dominance. You might lead by setting a clear vision, providing the right resources, empowering capable team members, and offering guidance based on expertise. Focus on enabling others to do their best work. Strategic vision planning. Use your analytical and long-term thinking skills, Chapter 5, to set a clear, logical direction for your team or organization. Excel at anticipating challenges and planning contingencies. Calm, objective. Decision-making. Your ability to remain calm under pressure
and analyze situations objectively is a major leadership asset, especially during crises. You provide stability and rational guidance when others might panic. Empowerment through autonomy. Naturally valuing autonomy yourself, you are well positioned to create environments where team members feel trusted and empowered to take ownership of their work, fostering engagement and innovation. Challenges strategies. Gaining initial visibility might require conscious effort, for example, strategically sharing key insights in meetings.
Motivating teams might involve clearly articulating the logic and purpose behind goals, rather than relying solely on autonomy. Part 1. We explored the rich inner world shaped by these traits and navigated the complexities of social interaction, communication, and connection on authentic terms. Part 2. We then turned inward to lay the foundation of radical self-awareness and acceptance, before honing practical skills to enhance effectiveness without sacrificing our core nature, and applying this integrated understanding to the vital domains of relationships and career. Part 3. Throughout these pages, the guiding principles have been validation, understanding, and authentic growth. The purpose was never to rigidly define you or confine you to yet another box, nor was it to suggest that the Sigma path is inherently superior to any other. Rather, the aim has been to hold up a mirror, offering insights and strategies for those who recognize aspects of themselves in these patterns, empowering you to navigate life not by conforming to external pressures, but by aligning with your own unique wiring. As we conclude, the focus shifts from understanding and skill building to something more profound, fully embracing this path as your own day in and day out. It's about integrating the insights gained into a cohesive way of living, one that is authentic, fulfilling, and allows your unique strengths to shine. Embracing your unique way of being, owning your signature. Perhaps the most significant step you can take after closing this book is to consciously, wholeheartedly embrace your unique way of being in the world. For too long, you might have felt subtly or overtly pressured to be more outgoing, more conventional, more readily expressive, less analytical, less independent. You might have internalized messages suggesting your natural inclinations were somehow deficient or problematic. Now is the time to shed those ill-fitting expectations. Your independence is not aloofness, it's self-reliance. Your introspection is not detachment, it's depth. Your quiet confidence is not arrogance, it's competence-based self-assurance. Your need for solitude is not antisocial, it's essential self-care. Your non-conformity is not mere rebellion. It's often principled adherence to logic and authenticity. Embracing this means valuing your traits. Actively appreciate the strengths that come with your nature. Chapter 5. Recognize how your strategic thinking, resilience, focus, resourcefulness, and calm objectivity serve you and others. See them not as compensations, but as genuine assets. Releasing comparison. Stop measuring yourself against different archetypes or societal ideals. The goal isn't to be a better alpha or a more sociable beta. The goal is to be the most effective, fulfilled, and authentic you. Your path has its own distinct advantages and challenges. Focus on navigating your path well. Celebrating your differences. Understand that your unique perspective, born from observation and analysis, adds value. Your tendency to question the status quo can drive innovation. Your ability to function autonomously contributes to resilience. See your differences not as liabilities, but as sources of potential strength and unique contribution. Living intentionally. Make conscious choices that align with your nature. Choose work, relationships, and hobbies that honor your need for autonomy, meaning, and depth. Structure your days to include the solitude you need. Communicate your needs and boundaries clearly and kindly. Chapter 8. Embracing your path isn't always easy in a world that often rewards conformity, but it is the only road to genuine peace and fulfillment. It's about giving yourself permission to be exactly who you are and recognizing the inherent power in that authenticity. Finding fulfillment and purpose on your own terms. So much of modern culture equates fulfillment with external markers: wealth, status, popularity, conventional career ladders, traditional family structures. For individuals resonating with Sigma traits, these external metrics often feel hollow if pursued at the expense of internal alignment. True fulfillment for you likely lies elsewhere in living congruently with your core values and leveraging your unique strengths towards goals that you define as meaningful. Define your own success. What does a successful life look like to you? Is it mastering a complex skill, building something innovative, cultivating a few deep, authentic relationships, making a tangible difference through your analytical insights, having the autonomy to direct your own time and energy? Be specific. Write it down. Let your internal compass, informed by self-awareness, Chapter 7, guide your definition, not external pressures. Align actions with values. Use your analytical skills to clarify your core values. For example, autonomy, competence, integrity, knowledge, justice, authenticity. Then assess how well your current life, your work, relationships, activities aligns with those values. Where there are gaps, consider how you can make adjustments, big or small, to increase congruence. Fulfillment often blossoms in the space where your actions match your deepest values. Leverage strengths for purpose. How can your unique Sigma advantages, Chapter 5, serve a purpose larger than yourself? Can your strategic thinking help solve a complex problem in your community or field? Can your objectivity contribute to fairer systems? Can your deep focus lead to mastery that benefits others? Can your independence allow you to pursue a niche path that fills an unmet need? Connecting your strengths to a sense of purpose is a powerful engine for sustained motivation and satisfaction. Embrace unconventional paths. Your non-conformity is an asset here. Don't be afraid to pursue paths less traveled if they align better with your nature and definition of success. Whether it's entrepreneurship, a specialized niche career, a minimalist lifestyle, or unconventional relationship structures, trust your own analysis and intuition over societal norms. Fulfillment isn't a destination reached by ticking external boxes. It's an ongoing state experienced when living authentically, purposefully, and in alignment with your unique nature. The ongoing journey of self-reflection and growth. This book provides a map and a toolkit, but the journey of authentic living is continuous. Self-awareness is not a one-time achievement. It's a practice. Skills are not mastered overnight. They require ongoing refinement. Life circumstances change, presenting new challenges and opportunities for growth. Commit to lifelong learning, internal-external. Continue to observe your patterns, triggers, and needs. Chapter 7. Notice how they evolve. Stay curious about yourself. What new insights arise? What old coping mechanisms resurface under stress? Equally, continue learning externally developing skills. Chapter 8. Gaining knowledge. Seeking new experiences that broaden your perspective. Adapt your strategies. The communication techniques, boundary-setting methods, and analytical management tools discussed are starting points. As you practice them, adapt them to different situations, and your evolving understanding of yourself. What works best with your boss might differ from what works with your partner. What helped manage analysis paralysis last year might need tweaking now. Stay flexible and refine your approach. Embrace imperfection. Self-compassion continues. You will stumble. You'll fall back into old patterns, miscommunicate, neglect boundaries, or get stuck in overthinking. This is not failure. It's part of the process. Meet these moments with self-compassion, Chapter 7. Learn what you can and gently redirect yourself back onto your authentic path. Growth is rarely linear. Regularly realign. Periodically, check in with yourself. Are you still living in alignment with your values? Is your definition of success evolving? Are your relationships and career still nourishing you? Are your needs being met? Make conscious adjustments as needed to stay true to your authentic self amidst life's inevitable changes. This ongoing commitment to self-reflection and growth ensures that your path remains dynamic and responsive, leading to deeper authenticity and resilience over time. Your unique contribution, how Sigma traits enrich the world. It's easy, especially if you felt misunderstood, to focus on the challenges of being different. But it's vital to recognize that the very traits that define the Sigma pattern offer unique and valuable contributions to workplaces, communities, relationships, and society as a whole. Your way of being isn't just valid for you, it actively enriches the world around you. Strategic insight problem solving. In a world often focused on short-term gains and reactive measures, your ability to think deeply, analyze systems, see long-term consequences, and devise logical solutions is invaluable for tackling complex challenges, driving innovation, and creating sustainable progress. Objectivity. Calm reason. In times of crisis, panic, or high emotion, your capacity for calm objectivity provides a crucial anchor. You can cut through the noise, facilitate rational decision-making, mediate disputes fairly, and offer stability when it's most needed. Principled non-conformity. Your willingness to question the status quo, challenge flawed assumptions, and adhere to logic and a principle over blind obedience is essential for progress. You can be the voice that points out the emperor has no clothes, driving necessary change and preventing collective mistakes. Your authenticity can also inspire others to be more true to themselves. Depth-focused mastery. In an age of distraction, your ability to focus deeply allows for the mastery of complex skills, the creation of high-quality work, and the generation of profound insights that superficial engagement cannot achieve. This contributes to excellence in various fields. Quiet influence. Competence. You demonstrate that influence doesn't always require charisma or dominance. Leading by example, through competence, integrity, and quiet guidance, fosters environments based on respect and results, offering an alternative model of effective leadership. Independence resilience. Your self-reliance contributes to overall societal resilience. Your ability to function autonomously and adapt to change reduces burdens on support systems and offers models of navigating adversity. Never underestimate the positive impact your unique constellations of traits can have. The world needs diverse perspectives and approaches. It needs strategic thinkers, calm anchors, principled questioners, deep workers, and quietly competent individuals. Your way of being is not just acceptable, it is valuable and necessary. Final thoughts. Living authentically and powerfully. The authentic Sigma path is not about seeking external validation for being different, nor is it about isolating yourself in a fortress of independence. It's about understanding your unique design, embracing it fully, honing the skills needed to navigate the world effectively from that authentic place, and contributing your distinct gifts. It's a path that requires the courage to resist conformity, to honor your need for solitude in a noisy world, to communicate directly yet kindly, to trust your own analysis, and to define success on your own terms. It requires self-awareness to know yourself deeply, self-compassion to navigate the challenges gently, and commitment to lifelong growth. But it is also a path of profound reward. It leads to a life lived with integrity, purpose, and a quiet sense of inner rightness. It fosters deep, authentic connections built on mutual respect. It allows you to engage with work that is meaningful and leverages your strengths. It empowers you to move through the world not as someone trying to fit in, but as someone confidently inhabiting their own unique space, contributing value precisely because of their distinct perspective. So embrace your inner architect, your quiet strategist, your independent thinker. Understand your needs, honor your boundaries, hone your skills, and walk your path with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing, accepting, and valuing exactly who you are. The world awaits your unique contribution. Live authentically, live powerfully.